Whenever I hear this book's title, Iron Widow, my head immediately goes back to that Iron Man armor Tony made for Natasha so that they could fight in space. I'm just gonna get it out the way because I feel like I have to mention that at some point just because of the way my brain works. Today I bring you Iron Widow, a bestseller by, and again I apologize because my pronunciation is terrible, Jiran J. Zhao. If I mispronounce that, I immediately apologize. My pronunciations are terrible. I can say the word in my head pretty good, but when I say it with my mouth, it just comes out as mush. That also explains this video quality. Anyway, this book is a bestseller, and I'm here to figure out is this worth all the hype or not. And short answer, it's worth the hype. This is a pretty good read. Long answer is the rest of the video. Before we go forward, again, a lot of these names are in Chinese. My pronunciation is not that great, so I immediately apologize for any time I mispronounce a word, name, or character. I apologize to anyone who has to hear me say this. Anyway, again, I know the words in my head, but when I say them with my mouth, it just doesn't work. There's like a weird disconnect, and it's always been there. There's no fixing it. So let's go over some plot, shall we? Our story follows Hu Zichan. Oh god, it's already starting. Our just Zichan. I'll say this now, the names are said in the Eastern order, so it's family name first, then given name, unlike Western countries where it's given name first, then family name. Anyway, Zichan is a country girl who, basically we meet mid-makeover so that she can impress some people. She's getting a makeover by her best friend / love interest, a rich boy named Gao Yuji. Oh god. Zichan is basically getting a makeover because she's trying to deal with the death of her sister that happened a few months before the start of the story. Her sister dying at the hands of Yang Guang, the pilot of the giant nine-tailed fox mecha. Yes, this is a mecha series. In this world, humanity lives at the mercy of the Great Wall, which is used to keep out the Hu Dun, alien beings that have taken over most of the planet. The gods have protected and gifted humanity with the chrysalis, mecha made out of the corpses of the Hu Dun, and the mecha kind of work with the two-pilot system, very similar to Pacific Rim. It's like a weird mix of Pacific Rim and Darling in the Franxx, because the pilots have to be one boy and one girl. They kind of blend minds together, much like Pacific Rim, all the little boy and girl things like Darling in the Franxx. And the mecha are piloted by the pilot's individual ki. And, well, in all but a handful of cases, the girls die, being overpowered by the boys' ki when they pilot the robots. We actually do see this in the book's prologue from Yang Guang's perspective. But the death in the beginning isn't Zitan's sister, it's just a random girl, to show how common this actually is. Every time the men pilot the robots, outside of those specific handful of cases, a girl dies. That's basically what's going on here. Anyway, Chichen's off on what she sees will one way or another be a death sentence, as she decides to go kill Yang Guang to avenge her sister. She's basically getting prettied up so she can be accepted as one of his potential co-pilots, also known as a concubine, because the girls are meant to serve the boy pilots in the various obvious ways your mind is coming up to right now. And while Guang is trying to seduce Zichan, well, the call goes out and he drags her off to pilot the Fox Mecha. And she's literally bound and strapped into the machine to serve as a battery so Guang can pilot and eventually, drain her of her ki and overpower her. I mean, it's not intentional, at least not 100% on his part. He's just doing it because that's his job, / that's what gets him all the glory. However, while bound in the machine and their minds being blended and hers being drawn into his, Zichan managed to overpower him and assert herself in the mental mindscape, known as the Yin Yang world, and takes over piloting the mecha herself. She uses Gwang as the battery, unlike most standard cases, and, well, overpowers him. He dies as a result of the battle. However, she's not rewarded with the victory for for winning a massive battle, but is seen as an almost as dangerous monster as the Hyodun she managed to fight. But seeing potential of the monster that they just got their hands on, the higher ups decided to throw her at the most dangerous pilot, Li Shimin. Oh god, I'm going to have trouble with his name. The pilot of the Vermilion Bird mecha, Lee, I'm just going to call him by family name now because I can't keep pronouncing his actual name, is a convicted murderer who committed the most evil crime in this setting, killing one's own family. He's a kinslayer. And normally he would have been put to death, but his massive amount of ki basically made him the perfect pilot, even if every woman who rides with him winds up dead. Of course, they hope this will serve as an execution for Chan to make her massive amount of ki at least useful to them. But she, in fact, also managed to overcome this trial and proven to be a perfect match for Lee, or at least an awkwardly perfect one. Now having to play nice with Lee for one massive assault on the enemy to take back a conquered territory from the Hyodun, she is made to pilot the Vermilion Bird whether she likes it or not. Now, from that synopsis, you can pretty much tell this is the story of a girl overcoming the odds to reign on top of the world. It helps that this story is somewhat inspired by the historical Wuzi-chan, who I don't have time to get into here, but says a lot about her character and her growing ruthlessness throughout the story to lead her to eventually what she does in the finale, what I won't talk about because massive spoilers, but it's a good finale. Anyway, the story is told from Wuzi-chan's perspective, as she's originally treated as a tool by, well, basically everyone, from the men in her life to her family who see her as a money-making scheme, to the men who see her as either a sexual outlet or a literal battery for their giant robots. And yeah, she's seen as a tool, and the more the plot goes on and the more ruthless she was willing to become, her actions are proven as a way for her to overcome all the challenges that people throw in front of her so that she can get to the top of the world and get what she believes she deserves because of all the achievements she's making in proving people wrong. For example, there's a constant reference to her bound feet, a symbol of her literal bindings. And yes, feet binding was an actual thing that happened, and if you want to sleep tonight, I don't recommend you look that up. But the symbolism here is poignant, as with it, the only time she feels she's truly free of the burden she feels, the literal bindings that keep her trapped, are when she's in a mecha. And also, that mecha can at any time become her mechanical tomb, not only from the battle itself, but also from the way the piloting system works. So it shows the great risk she's willing to go through in order to, well, get her freedom, as it were, as she tries to fight against the things that bind her and the literal alien invaders. Wuzi-chan is a great main protagonist. It reminds me of Ren from the Poppy War series, who had a very similar story, albeit Ren had a much darker outcome in her case, considering the fact that it's a story about young girls who are both treated as weapons, and occasionally sexual outlets, who grow more and more ruthless as they fight for what they believe they deserve. Albeit in Ren's case, she takes a darker turn and is manipulated by everyone around her, and in Jatan's case, she grows more ruthless and is able to break free of the people manipulating her. Minor spoilers. Also, her ruthlessness leads to a lot of great moments that are just big girl boss energy, and I kind of love it. Well, not girl boss, but, gatekeep, gaslight girl boss. That kind of girl boss energy, and I kind of love it. The other characters are also pretty great, such as Lee, who is this kind of tragic monster, and the fact he's a stereotypical big soft dude underneath a giant monster who, again, murdered his own family, but the reason why is actually rather deep. And then we have Yujin, who is noted by his sheer dedication to Zichan. Yuzi is a pretty great character. Again, thanks to sheer dedication and willingness to go along with everything as long as him and Zichan can be together. Or as long as he can be alongside her. They make a fun trio of main characters, and seeing them interact throughout the story is kind of one of the best highlights of the book, especially as they grow closer as a team slash thing I'm not going to say because spoilers. Also, the mechas, oh my god, I was looking for a good mech series book to read. Outside of the fox at the beginning, there are 3 other major mechas in the story: the vermilion bird, as I mentioned earlier, the white tiger, and the black tortoise. The 3 are based off the 4 guardians, representing the 4 cardinal directions. The only one missing is the dragon, which I say to be fair considering stuff that happens later in the plot, although that dragon is probably meant to represent the central point, not the northern point, although it could argue either or. And obviously, we have another pair of characters come with another pair of robots, especially considering the fact these are the ones that have the more stable comparisons. Anyway, yeah, the mechas also have this pretty fun gimmick. They switch between 3 main forms: an animal form into a more humanoid ascended form, and then a final, most powerful heroic form when they reach their apex. This could be the Transformers fan deep inside of me talking, but I have a giant soft spot for giant transforming robots, especially ones that transform from animals, because Beast Wars is a thing that happened. Even if I didn't grow up with it, it happened and I loved it. Yeah, honestly, I've tried reading a handful of mecha books. This is the first one that I've generally liked. Honestly speaking, if this ever gets a movie adaptation, I just want to see what they do with the mecha transformations. Like if they're going to go full Transformers who is some kind of weird liquid metal thing. Again, I really would love to see with this adapted, at least in terms of the mecha. And yeah, overall I have to say this is a pretty good book. And oh my god, that ending. The ending is such a game changer. I dare not spoil it. I honestly, oh my god, that ending. I'm honestly curious to see if there are any plans for a sequel just because of that ending. And I do really look forward to what can come next. So yeah, if you want a fun time, this one comes highly, highly recommended if you want a good mecha story. And also check out the author's YouTube channel. Yeah, she makes some really interesting and good YouTube videos where she culturally analyzes various stuff, such as the live-action Mulan movie, as well as all 3 seasons of The Last Airbender. So if you want a fun way to spend an afternoon on YouTube, I highly recommend her channel as well. I think she just did a big breakdown of Raya alongside a bunch of other people. I don't know how lately this video will come out, so that might be old news by the time this video comes out. So yeah, Iron Widow, pretty good. Even if my mind doesn't immediately go to that one Black Widow armor. Well, till next time, everybody.